Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hey, Owen. I am a huge, huge fan as a deconverted ex-Mormon. I guess that's a little reductive. But anyway, I was wondering how the governing body chooses new members if somebody dies or if they retire. Do they keep them as a governing body member until they die? How do they lose their status? In the Mormon church, they basically, the apostles, those top 12 or 15 dudes, choose the new apostles, and it's chosen by the prophet, supposedly, and then sustained by those members, and it's really just like an old man's club. Anyway, just wondering how the governing body relates to that, or if they do anything similar. Love you. Thank you. Hey, sorry, I just left that message about the governing body question, and my name is Morgan from Utah. Again, thanks for all you do. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for the phone call. It was a really interesting question. The answer is Jehovah's Witnesses governing body members choose the next ones in line, and they choose the helpers too, basically. The belief behind it is when Armageddon comes, the anointed Jehovah's Witnesses, which they're scattered throughout the organization, they believe those anointed people are going to be raptured to heaven when Armageddon starts. They're going to be given heaven swords, and they're going to go kill all their enemies and all that stuff. So they think that they're kind of setting up the organization to function without them, basically. So they have these governing body helpers who will step in case they need to, in case one of them dies or is raptured or something like that. The governing body members themselves are all anointed, and they choose the next one in line. They just discuss it amongst themselves and pick one, and that's it. It's not really a democracy. There are 8 of them, so they all kind of just talk about it amongst themselves. Now, as far as kicking one out, if they do something that is disfellowship worthy, like if they can be removed because they're not spiritual enough or something, then the governing body members all decide to remove the person. Ray Franz, back in the 80s, I think, or maybe the 90s, early 90s, I don't remember. Anyway, Ray Franz was a governing body member at one point and left the religion completely, not just the governing body. He quit the whole thing and said it was nonsense, what they're doing is wrong, they're evil, they have all these problems. And he wrote this whole book about all of the problems that the governing body and the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses have as a whole. And the book's name is Crisis of Conscience. Really interesting read. You should get a copy. It's on Amazon, I think. Anyway, when he left, that really shook things up, and they were really, really careful about who they picked after that. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Not really a democracy or anything. They just pick the next guy they want and move on. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you so much for the voicemail. I'm glad you found your way out of Mormonism, too. I know a lot of ex-Mormons, so that's good news.
Hi, my name is Justin, and I'm a big fan of your channel. I've been a follower for about over a year now. I got a question, though. I consider myself a Christian, and in my book, if you're a good person, whether you're a Christian, Muslim, Islam, whatever, Hindu, you go somewhere good in the afterlife. So my thing is, though, of course, these people like Greg Locke and these Trump-supporting Christians, do you think, like, let's say everyone went to heaven, or whatever afterlife, and we found out, like, oh, God does accept, everyone. Do you think Greg Locke and his followers would try to overthrow, basically heaven or Jesus Christ? If Jesus Christ even were to come back and say, no, love and peace that's what we're all about. Do you think they would probably crucify Jesus again? Anyway, thanks, and hopefully I get to see this, and yeah, I'll contact you in the future, hopefully. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Honestly, I think that they would believe that they had actually gone to hell and the devil was trying to trick them. I think that's probably what would happen. Once they finally came to accept that they were actually in heaven, they would probably bow down and just go absolutely nutty over, Jesus and how great he is and all that stuff. But to be perfectly honest, if the Bible was real and if heaven and hell were real and God was real and all this other stuff was real, there is absolutely no chance that they'd be going to heaven. It doesn't seem to me. They specifically contradict and go against everything that Jesus stood for. Everything. The guy was like a socialist who cared for the poor and cared for everybody and wanted to take care of them and all that stuff. They don't stand for that stuff at all. They explicitly stand against that stuff. I don't know how they've twisted it in their head to make themselves believe they're getting to heaven. It's not happening. I don't think it's real, and for that reason, I don't think it's happening. But even if it was, they wouldn't be getting into heaven, in my opinion. It just seems like it to me. Let me know what you think if you disagree.
Hey, Owen, this is Jeremy from Utah. I
got a lot of Utah colors today.
Find it very amusing when you talk about quote, unquote, and their failed predictions.
I think he said prophets, but for some reason it kind of cut out there. I'm not sure why.
And their failed predictions. But my curiosity is if you have ever seen anyone admit to a prophecy that has not come true, or if everyone just doubles down on it. Thanks.
Oh, definitely not. No, I've never seen one of the televangelists I talk about or any others admit to giving people a false prophecy or admit to being wrong or any of that. They have no choice but to double down because they know what the verses say. Deuteronomy 18, verses 17 to 22. I have it up here because I was talking about it earlier. I will raise up for him a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites, and I will put my words in his mouth. He will tell them everything I command him. I myself will call to account anyone who does not listen to my words, what the prophet speaks in my name. But a prophet who presumes to speak in my name anything I have not commanded, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods, is to be put to death. Just a couple verses down, it says, how do you know that somebody is a false prophet? Because what they say doesn't come to pass. So yeah, a lot of false prophets out there spreading false prophecies all over the place. In fact, the past week worth of clips, if you've watched them on my Fireside Chat channel, will prove to you just how many false prophets there are and how many false prophecies they've given. I have at least 2 examples, at least, just in the past week. And I have 1,000 videos on this channel. And somehow they just completely missed the verse in Deuteronomy about what's supposed to happen when they falsely prophesy something. Anyways, yeah, they would never admit to it because, you know, we wouldn't give them the death penalty today. Of course, it's not a capital crime. You can lie to your congregation all you want. Who cares, right? But they would at the very least have to give up their church. They would have to quit pastoring. They'd have to. If they admitted to falsely prophesying. It's too much money for them to do that. Got an email. The title is JW Minors and Treatment. Hey Owen, big fan of your channel for a little over a year. Never miss a new video. My question's a 2-parter. When Jehovah's Witnesses have a child who refuses to accept the religion, do Jehovah's Witnesses have a policy for disowning them or giving them up for adoption? They don't have a policy for giving them up for adoption, but they do have a policy about disowning them. So they won't disown them if they don't accept the religion, usually. But if they join the religion, say they get baptized at 8 or 9 years old, which is not unheard of, it's reasonably common. Say they get baptized at 8 or 9, and then they get a girlfriend in middle school or high school, and they do some things with that girlfriend the Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't like very much. 14 years old, 13, 12 years old, any age, doesn't matter. Even 8 years old. They are instructed through their literature specifically to not eat with the kid. Only discuss family matters. They should eat in their bedroom, not at the dinner table with everybody else. There's a big list of different things that you're supposed to do to communicate to your kid, your 12-year-old, that you don't want to be around them anymore, you don't like their behavior or who they are or anything about them, and they need to stay out of your life. You have to provide for them financially, legally, but that's about the extent of it. So that's the answer to the first question. And my second question is, which part of it is, suppose the non-believing minor/underage individual has an accident or a disease or something where they need treatment if they're desperate to be helped and don't share Jehovah's Witnesses' belief on resuscitation or transfusions, treatment, transplants, or anything like that, can they receive the treatment? Or if they're under the care of a family of Jehovah's Witnesses, is it the hospital policy to just let them die? It depends. If it is a minor, the parent has legal guardianship over them, and if they're not conscious, the parent will make the medical decisions for them. Now, at a certain age, I think a kid can make medical decisions for themselves, whether the parents are there or not, I think. But whether you're a Jehovah's Witness or not, whether you are disfellowshipped or baptized or never joined or whatever, the parents will never, ever give the okay to receive a blood transfusion, period. That goes for a parent of a Jehovah's Witness. Say a Jehovah's Witness joins the group later in life, the parent was never baptized, never even involved in the religion, and now they're in a situation where the Jehovah's Witness has guardianship over that person and they're in the hospital dying and unconscious. The Jehovah's Witness will never give the order to receive a blood transfusion. If they do, they could be held what they call blood guilty, which is tantamount to murder, basically. Not good. So, whether you're a Jehovah's Witness or not, a Jehovah's Witness will never be okay with you receiving a blood transfusion or other medical treatments that Jehovah's Witnesses aren't okay with. This is coming from someone who has a blood disease, and if I were a member of a family of Jehovah's Witnesses, I'd be desperate to have my life saved, and I'll be damned before I would ever let anybody just let me die. Thanks. Stay awesome. I appreciate the email. Interesting question. Yeah, the answer is they would let you die, unfortunately. That's just the religion. I don't like it any more than you do, but that's why I'm out here fighting it to the best of my ability. It is an ugly religion with ugly beliefs, and I feel obligated to expose it as much as I can because, a lot of people have died from this. Entirely too many. Next email's from Fonzie. Title is, Hello. Hi, Owen. My nickname is Fonzie. Let's just say I hate my real name. Anyways, I've been watching your YouTube channels just for the record, I cut out the real name, but I liked it. Personally, I liked your real name. I thought it was good. My nickname is Fonzie. Let's just say I hate my real name. Anyways, I've been watching your YouTube channels for the better part of a year and a half. I like how you show people what religion really is about and how extreme they can get. I also like how you're okay with people having their own personal beliefs if they're not jamming it into people's minds and telling them that this is the right way of thinking. Me personally, I'm a guy who is to each their own because personal experiences through life. So I'm basically, if you don't belittle me on my beliefs or make of me, we'll be okay. I wanted to ask you 2 questions, okay? Number 1, do you think that the big companies are price gouging right now for food and gas because they know they won't get the blame, but instead the president will get the blame for them? I don't think that that's why they're doing it, but I think they're fully aware that they're not going to take any blame for what's happening right now. Inflation is up, food prices are up, gas is up, everything is up right now in the United States, and honestly worldwide, not just in the U.S. I don't think they're doing it because they know they can avoid blame, but it's a side effect that they're enjoying a great deal. Number 2. Do you think there's any way to get a conservative to see the light of change for a future is better than keeping things in the 1950s? I think that there are ways to do it. Specifically, street epistemology has proven very useful on an individual basis to deconvert somebody from a radical position. There's no guarantee you're going to be able to, but street epistemology is a useful tool in the arsenal, basically. I have these questions because I live in a small town where it's half conservative Christian and where the other small half is druggies, where Trump was, quote-unquote, the best president. Yeah, absolutely. I lived in a similar town, so I totally get it. I hope I see this on your channel. Keep up the good work on shedding some light into this weird and crazy world. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for sending an email. It was a really interesting set of questions, and yeah, I definitely know where you're coming from with all of this. Earlier you mentioned not really caring if people were religious, as long as they're not cramming it down people's throats. Definitely how I feel. I really don't care if you're religious. Totally good with me. In fact, I want you to watch my channel. I want you to be involved and fight against extremism. I don't feel like it's possible to defeat Christian nationalism or Christian supremacy or extremism without working with Christians to solve the problem. So anyway, thank you so much for the email. I appreciate it. It was a really interesting question.